Okay, so this is a basics stuff you need to know to get you going with Final Cut. First thing is go up to View and check that skimming is enabled and clip skimming. This is going to make it easier when you're browsing through your clips in the window here. Just like that, you can move the thing along. Another thing that I always have turned on is going down here, the snapping button. Snapping enables you to, it has these guidelines so you can easily see where the edge of a clip is when you're trying to line things up. Alright, there are two ways to drag your footage down into the timeline. The first is simply to click and drag a yellow box and move it down. And yeah. The second is to find the bit that you want, where you want the clip to start. So let's say it's here, and you press I for in point, and then find where you want it to end, and press O for out point, and it creates that box, and then you can drag it down. Alright, another thing you can do. Let's say you've got your clip here and you want to drag it down. If you go to where my cursor is now, where it's waving over these, you've got several options. You can append it to the top of the timeline. So wherever the playhead is, it will just drop it down on top of it. You can insert it where the playhead is, using this one, or you can put it at the end of the clip using that one. Another handy thing is, if you click the drop down box, you can choose audio only. So let's say you've got a bit of audio in a clip that's the one that you want to use, and you want to put it over the top of another one, and you just want the audio, then that is a handy way of doing that, a quick way. Alright, second thing to get you going, learn the shortcut keys. Alright, so if you click this drop down box, you'll see that there's all these buttons here, and some of them are you're going to use all the time. And the ones that you're going to use the most are the select, which is just the normal arrow, so that is the A key, the range selection, which is the R key, and the blade tool, which is the B. So remember those, A, R, and B, and it makes life a lot quicker. Let's use the range selection tool. This is really handy for editing your audio. Let's say you've got some music playing, and then there's some dialogue, and you want to raise that dialogue up in your clip, but not the rest of the clip. You can click and drag using this range selection, and then go back to A, and then you can manipulate the sound just within that yellow box, which is really handy. Another way of doing it is you could use the blade tool, and that enables you to cut that clip up into little bits. Alright, another thing that you should all get the hang of with this is how to create an aural bridge between clips, so that the clips, you shouldn't notice that there's been an edit. If you're using continuity principles with your editing, there shouldn't be any jump cuts, it shouldn't jar visually, but it's also the same with sound. You shouldn't hear that there's suddenly been an edit. And so one way of doing that is by using these aural bridges. So you put your cursor where my mouse is in the audio, the waveform, and you double click, and it drops it down. Then I can grab the edge of that audio and move it over into the next clip, thus creating an aural bridge into that clip. And I can make it even more smoother by clicking and dragging the fade in, fade out, and then do the same with this one. And now it'll be like a smooth thing. So let's listen to that. See how you didn't really... That's as smooth as a baby's bum. Smooth as crap coming out of a duck's ass. I'll edit that bit out later. So you can do that with any time when you're, and it also pays when you're editing. At some point, you should put your headphones on. When you're editing, it pays to get the visual cut first. So you get all the clips lined up how you want the scene to go, and then worry about the sound. When you're editing the sound, it pays to have headphones on so you can hear if there's been a sudden, jarring thing with the sound. And you pay really close attention to the sound with headphones. If you don't, when people see it on the big screen, they're going to be entirely, utterly focused on the film, and they're going to notice everything, including wonky edits and wonky sound. So using the headphones is a really good idea when you're editing the sound. All right, one other thing. Let's say you've been video. As I've said before, sound is just as important as video. The DSLR's cameras produce fantastic video if you have got the subject in focus and you've got the settings correct. You'll get really good video from the DSLRs, but the sound is often crap. Particularly if you're not using one of the microphones, or if you've used the microphone but you didn't have the settings correct. So there are two options to fix it. First, the most common problem is that you have a lot of hiss in your audio, and it's just horrible to hear, that awful hissing sound. Let's imagine that this had a whole lot of hissing on it. Actually, let's pinch somebody else's footage. Let's pinch this. All right, let's listen to this for any hiss.
And this is a different author, but my favourite author is John Green because he is green, like kind of cute.
Okay, I actually recorded that using a microphone properly, and so it's pretty good. Let's try and find some El Crapo. Let's try and find some El Crapo stuff. Hey? That one? No. Anyway, let's imagine that this audio was not very good and that it had a whole lot of hiss. You click on the clip, then you go up to the inspector window here. If it's not open, then you just push this button and bring it open. And you've got a video tab, which is where you can change all the video stuff here. And you've also got an audio tab. So we'll click on the audio tab. We're going to go down to audio enhancements, click show. Where it says audio analysis, we're going to click that box. And you'll see you've got a bunch of stuff. So one is for loudness, if it's really quiet, the audio, you can click on that and it'll boost it up. One is for background noise removal, which removes the hiss. And one is for hum removal, if you've got an annoying hum in the audio. The most common one you'd use is background noise removal. If it goes over 50%, it'll make the audio sound really robotic. And if it goes under 50% too much, then you won't really notice that much has happened. So generally 50% is sort of the sweet spot for that. You'll notice a big difference, but it can kind of make the audio sound a bit hollow and thin and robotic. So it's kind of a trade-off between hiss and this other weird stuff that it does. Anyway, the other option you have is to build the soundtrack completely up from the ground with music, with Foley effects of all the sound effects, with like room tone or like outside noises that you can either find or record yourself in Final Cut, including the dialogue. And we have some very good USB microphones that you can use to get your actors to come in and look at what they've said and re-record that dialogue cleanly, and then you can sync that up to the thing. It's a time-consuming process, but if you've only got a few scenes where there's dialogue, then it'd be worth considering that because you'll get a better result usually, unless you've got a good mic set up properly on the cameras. Any other questions about Final Cut? Has anyone had any things that they were wondering about? Like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Another thing is, whatever you want to do, there'll be a YouTube clip. Okay, so you can either ask me or ask YouTube. There's great tutorials for this program all through YouTube. That's enough for today, children. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks.